All right. Welcome, everybody. Let's. Hello. Upside down me. Welcome, everybody, to Canhammer TV for, I think, what might be one of my first and only hobby streams. I was supposed to be playing Matthew tonight with his Raven Guard, but he just couldn't make it and couldn't get a last minute replacement, unfortunately. So we're just going to do a hobby stream. I haven't done one in a while. I'm just using one of my overhead cameras, which keeps going into this weird focus mode. But if you know how to turn that off, then let me know. But we're gonna just chat and while I sit and build Ridgerunners. So yes, I am building Ridgerunners. This is something that I saw at Charity Hammer, obviously. Alex McDougall played it to great effect against many very difficult lists. And that's not why I picked it up. I had earlier this year bought a Gene Stealer Cult Army from Hank, one of the local guys, and basically sold me a whole unpainted Gene Stealer Cult Army for like $300. And so I had all these models, and in it is 30 aberrants, and unfortunately aberrants, as people know, are now done. So I decided to, so I wasn't sure what to do with my Gene Stealer Cult, basically. I also had Acolytes, but that seemed like, I was just going to do Acolyte spam, but, that seemed kind of boring. So ends up then, I wasn't sure what to do, and so I never really got started on painting that army because it just wasn't inspired. And it was a shame because it's beautiful models that I wanted to play since they came out. And I didn't want to pay, $3,000 for a full army brand new. So the situation arose and I bought an army, and so it was a shame that I didn't get to play it. But then I saw Alex rocking these Ridgerunners at Charity Hammer. And while, yes, they were quite effective, I've no delusions into thinking that they're the world's best list, but it just seemed so fun with a bunch of little buggies riding around with las cannons on them. And so for that reason I went all in and I bought 8 Ridgerunners, not 9. So that's what I'm doing right now, building Ridgerunners. As you see, I've got 4 of them here. I'm building 4 at a time. I have 8 to build, so I'm building 4 at a time. They're fairly easy to build, beautiful little kits. Very detailed and super cool with the lights and even the underside here with multi-link suspension and springs. There's springs there too, springs and suspension, little exhausts and hooks and everything. And then you've got these bars. There's all these details here with the grating. Then there's like even a little shovel on the side, and then there's a spotter in the top. So I'm building them all with spotters because I want some little manpower on them, but I haven't decided the best way to run them. It's a matter of debate. I think Alex runs them all with spotters because the other option is to run with something that gives them all 6-up Feel No Pain. His option, by making his las cannons 42 inches, is that he gets shot less and it's going to prevent more damage than a 6-up Feel No Pain, which is a fairly decent reasoning. And the other thing, of course, is to ignore cover, which might be a cool thing to do, although with -3, maybe not as important to ignore cover. So anyway, I'm just putting spotters on them for coolness, but how to run them, I guess, is quote-unquote meta-dependent, as people know I like to say. So, hope everybody is good tonight. Let me know what you're up to. I might, just be talking to myself all night, which is fine. I tend to do that anyway. So, yeah. So, I was just looking over all the LVO terrain rules, and Nick Kananabadi actually wrote a really good review of these terrain rules and the effect on lists and what lists will do well and not well in this kind of terrain, and what armies are going to do well. And he thinks that actually combat armies are going to do quite well if piloted well. And at the last minute, he's playing White Scars, which everyone expected him to play Iron Hands, but he has changed to White Scars. And I remember when we were at, doesn't matter now because the lists are locked, when we were at Charity Hammer, before we left on the Sunday, he basically proclaimed that White Scars was going to win. And so obviously he must have known the guys at Charity Hammer had known about these kind of terrain. They'd been asked to kind of test the terrain, these terrain layouts for a while, and certainly these were the kind of terrain layouts we were trying to practice at Charity Hammer for these guys. And so he's taking White Scars, and I think he's probably pretty confident that he's going to win it. So basically what this terrain rules is that the terrain kind of rotates. Hey, see Farsight, welcome. Thanks for watching. The terrain rotates with the deployment, basically. So the table basically is 2 large runes that block line of sight from at least 2 angles. Okay, they're kind of like L's. Not quite L's, not as acute as L's, it's slightly obtuse L's. And then some large sort of walls, basically, that apparently are quite tall, like 10 inches tall. And then a bunch of ruins that are fairly good to hide stuff in. And then some area terrain like craters and shit. And basically there's quite a bit of terrain. And this is going to be on the top 100 tables. So you could be lucky and start there. But there is a possibility that you could play the first 2 rounds not on these tables. So you can't just go all in. But, you know, if you're planning to do well, you should probably plan to be on those tables. And so basically, and as the deployments rotate around, the terrain moves with you. So basically, in every deployment except for Dawn of War, where the 2 big runes just become Nova L's for all intents and purposes, you will have 1 large ruin right at the tip of your deployment zone. So in some cases that's only 18 inches away from the enemy, and in other cases it's 24 inches away from the enemy. And then you have large ruins and these walls basically to hide things behind in the corners. So what this means is this gives assault armies a boon, because now on at least 2 out of the 5 deployments you're going to have 18-inch hiding zone basically, and the other ones is only going to be 24-inch. So I think that's why he switched to White Scars. Raven Guard probably doing pretty well in that kind of thing. Any kind of Possess Bomb, maybe even Knights. And so the argument for it, I like it. The argument against it is that, of course, the terrain changes the meta. So who knows if it will or not, but it's certainly interesting. The most interesting for me about it is that with good terrain like that and guaranteed an L rune right at the front of your deployment, and then walls, very high walls in 2 of the other corners of your deployment, this kind of makes my version 3 list that I took to Charity Hammer actually quite good. You got 2 combat assault units that you no longer have to deep strike, because they can just start on the board in that big rune right on the edge of your deployment zone and threaten the middle. And then you've got places to hide 3 Caladius tanks at the back. And so you could split your army in 2 and with tanks at the back with a buff character, and then the rest of your melee hitting right at the front, ready to go and engage. It's actually pretty interesting. I have some nice this kind of LVO style terrain being made for me right now by Adam at Greenleaf. And so the minute I receive that, which he tells me will be right after LVO, I'm going to start putting that terrain on the table and playing with that terrain. So it's gonna be cool. Right now, the terrain I got right now for these ETC games has not really been big enough. The 2 central runes have not been big enough. I might beef them up for the next few weeks, but they've not been big enough to really provide much in the way of cover. But once I get those LVO trains, we'll start doing that when we go back to doing ITC. So that should be pretty cool. That will be very cool indeed. Whether we use the rotating with the deployment is a question. I guess we'll find out after LVO what people thought of it and whether it's going to become a thing or not. Unclear right now how much of a thing it's going to become, but definitely, yeah, and we also don't know whether actually the ITC missions are going to change. There's a big thread right now on the ITC tournament organizers Facebook group where all of us TOs chat about what we should do with ITC missions moving forward for next season. Caps Lock, some really funny Palace tanks. Yeah, actually, most people don't realize I only own 2 Palace tanks. I never bought that third one, and I don't think I will. So can't run full meme Palace tanks, but no, I'm doing Ridgerunners, and these little things are cool. And of course, I'm probably gonna dabble in some Dark Angels when it comes out because I've got 20,000 points of it waiting to go. Most of which is Ravenwing, which sounds like it's going to be fun. And this will tide me over till our book comes out, which is probably going to be March now because it's supposed to be February, but everything was delayed, and so that's why PA4 was delayed, and Sisters is still coming out. And I think most of the Sisters was supposed to be out by now, by Christmas time, but it just never ended up getting there. These tanks are quite cool. Very cool, in fact. Very cool. And they're going to be a hoot to play. And then add in there a bunch of Gene Stealers, and it's going to be super fun. I've wanted this army for so long, since it came out, but I was not going to pay the stupid prices. In other news, so I have invested in a proper Seer Council. 10 Warlocks on bikes. I'm picking up a couple of Farseers on bikes from some people, and so I am going to invest just in that small Eldar contingent for the Seer Council list that I ran last night. And because I quite enjoyed it, even though I lost horribly, and probably, the terrain wasn't good enough to play Seer Council last night. But that's, so I've got a number of things on the go. I've got this GSC army, which I'm going to try and get on the table as soon as possible. Then I've got the Seer Council list, which is mostly Drukhari with a bit of Eldar in it. And then Ravenwing and Dark Angels to come. And I've already decided if I need to buy Deathwing, I'm going to buy those Forge World First Legion, like Terminator, Praetor dudes, because they look so awesome. So if I need Deathwing, that's what I'm going to do. That's the plan. But if I just need Greenwing or Ravenwing, I got plenty of those models. Don't need any more. So lots more variety coming on the channel, but there's definitely going to be lots of Custodians once our book comes out. How do I turn off the autofocus? That's the question, Caps Lock. How do I turn that off? Camera. So I can't, apparently. It's okay as long as I keep something in. Maybe I just need to give it something to focus on in the meantime when my hands are not here. Maybe an objective marker. Does that work? Something with a letter or word on it? Yeah, there we go. Okay, so now the camera can recognize some contrast lines as opposed to just the matte and some gray plastic, and now it doesn't autofocus. Because it thinks it's smart, but maybe it's not that smart. Okay, now I'm at the stage of building these guys where I can pick the weapon. Okay, heavy mining laser, missile launcher, or heavy mortar. So I think the heavy mining laser is obviously the way to go. Because why not get D3 last cannon shots? Okay, so I'm going A, so 46, 47. So I'm just taking my time. Most recently, I've been just jamming through build projects. I built like a whole Sylvaneth army in like 5 days. Because, I'm crazy. And it turns out I'm probably going to give that Sylvaneth army to Nick to paint. And he can take his time. Might take him a year. I don't know. But I just have lost all motivation with that right after building it, and so that's too bad. But I tried the contrast paints, and they're just not my style. And so back to the old thing. And so what I'm trying to do actually with this army, 41, 42, is to complete the hobby goal with this Gene Stealer army is actually to try and do as much of it with airbrush as possible. including using the Sotar, the really small airbrush, to try and do highlights and stuff like that. So that is the hobby goal with this army. And so I think it's a perfect army to do that. I'm going to make it Prison Break orange. I'm going to make it Prison Break orange. And purple, like Gene Stealer purple skin. So I think it's going to be a really nice contrast, like the LA Lakers. And I think it's going to look really cool if I can do it well. But I've got a nice formula for orange off Instagram from this guy who's an amazing painter, using the airbrush and like just a single wash. So it doesn't look too hard. And we're going to try and do that. So we're definitely going to try and do that. Sorry, I'm not used to hobbying on stream, so try and hold it onto the stream, although it's not really much to see going on. I'm just cleaning parts. So I'm just building the las cannon, or the heavy mining laser. What are people working on? I know nobody actually watches the stream. They just have it on in the background. So what are people working on? What's your hobby goals for 2020? My hobby goal is to finish this Gene Stealer army and to, in the middle, paint the Seer Council. And I'm going to try and do some gradients on those bikes so it looks pretty cool, and try some freehand. So that's a hobby goal for the Seer Council models when I receive them, which should be sometime next week. Get those ready. And then I don't have to play just bases like I did last night. Although Dangerous Dave was very dangerous as a base. Yeah, I don't know if anybody's watching right now who watched the game last night, but it was an interesting matchup. I probably shouldn't have deep struck the bikes, but I didn't think there was any way that they would effectively survive so much indirect fire without any buffs. Turns out that I ended up seizing, right? But of course you don't know that at the time. So yeah. Yeah. Obviously, if I'd known I was going to seize, then I wouldn't have deep struck the bikes. But you know, it's kind of a funny game that way. Anyway, I still managed to make a game of it, but clearly it got messed up. But then it wasn't too bad until that freaking knight exploded and then took out all my buff characters, and that was game. So that was a tragedy. Painting Purple Custodes and Zangors for a friend of mine. Cool, Purple Custodes. Biohazard, trying to paint a Plague Burst Crawler. Don't you just have to dip that in some mud and then dry brush it green? Caps on making a proper base for Trajan because I'm finally repainting the things I first brought to my scheme. Yeah, I don't actually own a Trajan model. I just use the Ixion Hale model from Forge World for my Trajan because I like that he brings his own stairs to battle. But I never liked the Trajan model. I don't even like the Valdor model. I think it's just too extra. There's too much stuff on it, and like the big cloak and the it looks kind of like an anime character. I don't really like it. I don't know what I think about this Hipster Dan model that we might be getting rules for, that released with that novel with that Sister of Silence woman. I do like the Genetia Crawl model. I was thinking of turning that into a female shield captain if I managed to pick that up from Forge World at some time. But the Hipster Dan is a little bit weird. I'm not sure how I think of Hipster Dan. Hopefully it comes with a helmet option. But then he just looks like a normal custodian guard just standing there with the spear. So, you know. Of course it doesn't matter because he's going to be D3 damage and be useless. So I was listening to the Best in Faction podcast, and Mitch was talking about our game, of course, and bemoaning how horrible it is that we have all this D3 damage. Yeah. I can't remember if our game at Charity Hammer involved me fluffing a lot of D3s, but it probably did. I'm constantly fluffing D3s. I haven't had a good D3 roll in a long time. I think like the last amazing D3 roll I remember doing was like at Adepticon last year when I killed a Castellan with only four Aquilon. and because they just went red hot on D3s, and it's just like 369. You only need 8 threes to kill a knight, really. But yeah, so that was I think that was like the last whoa moment I ever had that I can remember of D3s coming through. I think you can ask anybody, and they would gladly trade 2 damage for D3. You know, you get rid of the spike element, but you get way more reliable. Because it seems like, and maybe this is just because you only remember negative things, it seems like it's more 1s than 3s, almost always. So, and that's very annoying. Alright, just cleaning these things. Because I want to do a nice paint job on these things, I'm actually kind of cleaning all the stuff off. If I'm not too bothered about something, I usually don't clean any of the little stuff, but, you know, I want these guys to look good. So, FYI peeps, all the Charity Hammer games that were on Can Hammer stream, so that's stream 2, are up now on the YouTube. There's a special playlist called Charity Hammer 2, and you can find all of the games that were on our channel up there right now, and they will be up there forever. You can still go back and watch last year's, although they're probably not very relevant, but yeah. So, and then I think Collins are going up either today or tomorrow, so that's for stream 1. And I think Adam should have his up on Down Under Network pretty soon as well. So that actually took quite a while because my editing is on the other computer, which has non-wired internet, and so it took ages. And then one of the guys, I think it was on the Friday night or the Saturday night, they didn't cut the stream between games, so it's one long 12-hour file, and I had to load that and move it and split it and then re-export it into 4 separate files. That took like 3 days. But soon I will be buying a new desktop computer upstairs for video editing, and so my productivity will increase markedly because my desktop upstairs is 11 years old. When was the last time you owned a PC that lasted 11 years? Never. My Mac has lasted 11 years. Trajan is fine. I just made a custom head for him by filling in the top off a normal helmet. Caps lock, yeah, how much did you donate to get Mitch to complain about that? I didn't. I actually did donate like $300 to Charity Hammer, but I didn't tell Mitch to say that. It's just the truth. It's just the truth, nothing but the truth. Okay, maybe slight error here. Okay, good. Okay, got that. Yeah, no, it's definitely. I think anybody whose entire army relies on D3s will have the same complaint. Personally. Oh, these pieces are so small. There we go. I think we'll glue this onto the vehicle first. So this is like the little turret, and this goes in these back treads here. Very cool. And then eventually, this las cannon will go on here and peek over the top. Very cool. All right, cool. So, yeah, so anybody watching now going to LVO out of interest? Anybody? I don't think I will ever get to LVO. Oh, actually, I lie. It's in the works, a plan for the boys to go to LVO next year. Maybe with wives, maybe not. Myself, Francois, and Phil. If we can swing it, boys trip to LVO. I won't say any more than that right now. Don't want to jinx it, but that is the current plan. Yeah. Which would be cool. Very cool. I know for sure next year I'm going to Charity Hammer, so that's one thing I know I'm definitely doing. And that's pretty close to LVO, so, it might be a thing. But if I know I'm going to LVO, maybe I have to give up Charity Hammer, even though I don't want to. So there's a possibility also that Charity Hammer is much closer next year instead of being out west. Might be somewhere central, maybe Chicago or Detroit. Not Detroit. Nobody wants to go to Detroit. Chicago or something like that. So who knows? But that would be cool. Easier for us East Coasters to travel. Because the travel was definitely one of the hard parts of Charity Hammer. But yeah, it would be cool to go to LVO. Just to be there. G13 AGB was going for the tag, but my partner build next year. I'm just do the main tag. I'm not sure tag. You mean like team tournament? Yeah. So just do the singles. Yeah. Team tournaments are awesome. I highly recommend people go to team tournaments. We're running our team tournament obviously very soon. Very soon. But team tournaments are just an amazing way of playing the game and really changes the emphasis from you to team. Makes a big difference. And I would highly recommend people check out team tournaments. Can Hammer Team Tournament, February 8th, 9th, coming up. List deadline is this weekend. And so teams are kind of starting to stress out a little bit about it. Of course, people leave it to the last minute to try and figure out what ETC format is, and there's no one else to blame but themselves for stuff like that. But it's a bit of a pain in the ass, yes. But the whole ethos of Can Hammer Team Tournament is supposed to be ETC practice, and so you got to practice making those lists. All right. Stuff is fairly easy to put together. I think we must be almost done. Just small details and one more dude on the back to go. Okay, so here we go. We got the thing assembled here with the las cannon sticking out. Heavy mining laser. Okay, it's a really cool model. There's like all this stuff here. There's like a little ramp at the back. Then a little buggy area with these kind of the stubbers on the side. So it's really cool. Really, really cool model. ATC. Oh, I'd love to go to ATC, but no team. So I won't be going to ATC anytime soon, but ATC would be sweet. Okay, actually, you know what I should have done was not... I wonder if I can still take them out. Not put the spotter in. Paint it separately. Yes. Okay, I got one out. That would be the much smarter thing to do, mister. Not thinking like an airbrusher. Good, good, good. Almost too late. I gotta pull this baby out without pulling the head off or the arms. All right. Nice. Okay, good. So yes, we're going to do these drivers separately. The spotters separately. And then, so then final step is to make this dude who sits on the back. This dude here. So I'm going to make him and not stick him in. And he actually grabs the bar. If you see that, he actually grabs the bar handlebar. So that's pretty cool. But we're not going to do that to the end. And so that'll be cool. So we are going to make that guy and have him separate. what is this? Oil cans go on the side. Number 5 times 2. Oh, and there's also a hammer on the side and then another handlebar. Oh, there's so many little details. Okay. Where's the other oil can go? This says oil can times 2. Where's the other oil can go? Nowhere. Okay. Let's make these little dudes. You're going to ATC this year. You're stoked. Cool. Who's going on your team? Who is on your team? 60, 63, 60. Yep. Team tournaments are the pinnacle, I think. And I think it's awesome. Obviously, I'd love to go to ETC, but I just think it happen. First of all, I can't fly all the way to Europe to play Warhammer. Second of all, I probably wouldn't make the team. So, irrelevant. Distance, irrelevant in the end. Uh-oh. But yeah, that would be kind of the pinnacle, is to go represent your country, although, whatever, it's Warhammer, and fly all the way over there for like a week to play Warhammer. That would be pretty hardcore. 59 is the head, 58 is the hand that grabs the handlebar. There we go. And 61 is like some kind of tricorder or something. Yeah. Definitely want to paint these guys separately. What a pain in the ass that would have been to paint the floor and everything. Oh yeah, that would have been a pain. Okay, so that's that dude. And then we'll also get the little handlebar here. The hammer. Who knew they're driving around with a thunder hammer attached to the back of their truck? And a can. See, it says there's 2 cans, but as far as I can see, there's only one place to put the can. The fuel can. Okay. Boom. So what do people think of the LVO terrain rules? Let me know what you think. I am very interested to get public consensus and thoughts. I also want to get people's opinion on it being sprung on people 2 days before lists are due and so late before the actual tournament. First thing, let's talk about standardized terrain. I hate standardized terrain. I hate the idea of every table being exactly the same. I think you could have 3 or 4 or 5 different standards and then you have more variety. I don't think we need to standardize terrain. I think we need to improve terrain. And so, yeah, that's my thoughts on completely standardized terrain. I don't like how Nova, every table is the same, and I will probably not go to Nova for that reason. But I think generally it's the effort to improve the terrain, and so tournaments need to invest in that, and we need to incentivize that somehow. But I don't think that having standard terrain is the answer, really. G13 AGB, I'm running Space Wolves currently with Knight Allies until Psychic Awakening drops. My fiancée is running her Ultramarine subchapter Emperor's Spear, is running Tau, running another. Okay, cool. Thousand Suns, and the last player is Necrons. That's an interesting team. Of course, ATC is in the summer, and that is going to be after the apparent edition change. So who knows what's going to happen? Who knows? All the summer tournaments, so ETC, ATC, Nova, and Capital City Bloodbath, we're all at the whim of these springtime edition changes when they happen. It can be very disruptive. It's also an interesting meta usually right at the beginning when there's not a lot of other stuff going on. It's just kind of core rules, and so it's an interesting kind of game to play at that state. If you think back, it was like Flyers, then there was like freaking Etherwing spam, then there was like Malefic Lords everywhere. People forget these or never played those kind of metas, and they were oppressive to say the least. So I can't say quite as oppressive as Space Marines, but they were certainly as unenjoyable, if not more unenjoyable, because they weren't even stuff that people liked fluff-wise. They were just broken-ass shit. Who's ever read fluff on Etherwings? Nobody. It was just broken-ass shit that people were playing. Whereas at least Space Marines, okay, Space Marines, they've been down for like 3 years, and now they're finally good. So in some ways, you can't begrudge Space Marine players their due, their time in the sun, and they are the poster boys and poster childs of GW and their whole IP. So, they're going to make them good, especially from after being bad for so many years. But they were, you can't begrudge them because, they got the fluff and everything. But freaking, like, Malefic Lords and Ether Wings and man, that shit was stupid. That's why we can't have nice things, guys. That's why we can't have nice things. But we're going to have nice Ridgerunner models. That's for sure. They'll probably get nerfed, too, if they become really good. If Alex manages to finish high with them, could really hit the spotlight there. Darren, do you prefer standardized terrain or bad terrain? Well, we shouldn't have to make that choice. I know everybody wants to run their own tournaments, and that's great, and there's so many tournaments these days, but I feel like there needs to be like a minimum standard. Because, if you run a tournament and you got bad terrain and it doesn't improve, then that's not improving the play experience of your local players. But yeah, I would choose obviously standardized terrain. But if the standardized terrain is crap, so I don't think the fact that it's standardized necessarily has anything to do with the fact that it's good or bad. You can standardize good terrain, but you can also standardize bad terrain. And so standardizing bad terrain would obviously be the worst combination. Standardizing good terrain would be an acceptable solution, and then the best would be varied amounts of good terrain, which is what we try and strive for at CCBB. But even then, what we're gravitating towards is, 4 or 5 setups of good terrain. So that you get good terrain no matter where you go, and then you get, a variety of different setups over the course of a 6-game tournament. So, yeah. But like pure standardized Nova style, I don't like that. I think it takes away a whole aspect of choosing which side of the board to use, that sort of thing, because it takes that completely out of the game, and that is a part of the game. It's a strategy game, and if you take a whole aspect of strategy out of it, it kind of defeats the purpose. To an extent, that ends up being the case. Sorry, so do you mean standardized, like having good terrain means you have to standardize it? No, as I said, I think you can have types of standards. You can have 3 or 4 or 5 or whatever, types of setups. So you can have one setup that has, L's, you can have another setup that has like a big blocker in the middle, and it's kind of what we do at CCBB. We don't have all L's, we have some L's, and then we have some tables that have just a big building in the middle. And actually, a lot of our on-screen games didn't have either of those. They had this really nice and functional, nice scenery that was made by other people that we wanted to showcase. So, but I just turn on the Nova stream, and I'm just like bored seeing these L's all the time. So I do like the new LVO setup. So you'd be okay with 4 or 5 standard tables, kind of like maps, if they were actually a bit different. Yeah, kind of like maps. You imagine if League of Legends had all the same map. Every single game was on exactly the same map. Imagine that. How much crying would there be amongst gamer nerds? Right? There's no reason that we need to have the same map. You can have good terrain and have a variety in maps. One is not mutually exclusive of the other. So it's interesting that by doing the rotation, it's kind of like having different maps now, even though it's the same terrain, basically in the same orientation to each other, but different. It's basically the same terrain every game, but it seems like it's different. So I guess that's cool. If it looks like the ITC is going to keep that for next season, I'll definitely start to use it on the stream just to kind of get used to it and see what it's like. It's going to be a pain in the ass having to move the terrain every game, but that's another thing. Like, you really trust the players to like move all the terrain every game and not damage your terrain? Trust me, if you run a tournament and there's enough people there, people damage terrain. I think Chris and Jason said they had to spend like $500 fixing terrain after the last tournament. So there is wear and tear, and people moving all your terrain around definitely adds to the wear and tear, and so people haven't really considered that. So if it's not moved accurately, then there's going to be complaints, and they say if there's complaints, get a judge. Well, how many judges do they have? They got like 400 tables. They're going to have 400 people asking for judges to move the terrain every round. That's not going to be manageable. So we'll see how it goes. It literally is, though. There's always crying on League. Yeah. Summoners, Rift changes season to season, but it's the same. Okay, I don't play League of Legends, so I have no idea what you guys are talking about. But yeah, other games have multiple available. Yep. There's always crying. You like driving their buildings around like cars. Yeah, I just remember going to Adepticon and like the terrain, and yeah, it's not really that fun. Okay, so when I build bodies, what I like to do is like do it, especially when I'm building multiples, do a step multiple times, and then by the time you go back to the first model, the next it's dried and hardened. So I think that's a more efficient way of building multiple models than completing one and then going on to the other. Especially when you got posable arms and stuff where you really want it to kind of set a little bit at least before you start messing around with it again, because it comes apart. But you guys probably all know that. I'm not talking to beginners here. I'm not telling you anything you didn't already know. Random question. Jimenez90, welcome. I'm trying to super glue a magnet to a flight stand of a Necron destroyer and they will not adhere. Yeah, especially if you got strong magnets, the magnet is stronger than your super glue. So here's one trick you can use for super glue to make it stick. And this is the best product I've ever bought. Accelerant. You can get this off Amazon. It's very cheap. It's a little spray bottle. And you spray it on one side, super glue the other side, and it's like an insta bond in like 3 seconds. It will also insta bond your fingers, so watch out. Some people think it's a weaker bond than just letting it dry together. Maybe, maybe not. If you don't drop things, it probably doesn't matter. I don't know if it will stand up to the strain of large magnets. You probably have to settle for smaller magnets, but I find that is a problem. The other suggestion, of course, if you have not discovered these people already, is Magnet Baron. Okay, Magnet Baron. Magnet Baron sells all sorts of magnetic flight stands that kind of already come, and I think you still have to glue them, but they're pretty good. So lots of people swear by Magnet Baron. I bought a bunch but didn't end up using them, but if I ever have flight stands, I will do these guys. So Magnet Barons is good. The other thing you can do with flight stands, like I did for my Custodes bikes, is to actually just drill out the hole and just wedge the flight stand in there, and then you can take it out on and off very easily if you just drill it out. Loctite gel, I've had success with glowing magnets. I don't know what glowing magnets are, but Jim, I have a 2x2mm one drilled into the stand, and then a 4x1mm one on top for all the bikes. Yeah, I just find that magnetizing those stands for the bikes was stupid, and that all I had to do was just make the hole a little bit deeper, and then the stand would just stick right into the bike, and then you could take them on and off easy, and that was it. So, but you could certainly magnetize them. That's very reasonable. But yeah, getting them to stick to the tip of the stupid bike stand is crazy and silly, and flight stands should be destroyed. But probably will never be destroyed. So I'm not glad that Matthew canceled, but it does give me a chance to recover from 3 games in 3 nights, all going pretty late, and then still having to get up at 6 in the morning, take my daughter to school and go to work. Had a pretty long day at work today. And so it's nice just to sit here and do some chatting and do some hobbying. And yeah, there is such a thing as too much Warhammer sometimes. But Matthew couldn't make it. I couldn't get a replacement. But Matthew is rescheduled to play against another opponent, Charlie, on January 30th. So you will see his Raven Guard army. Actually, I think his list is still down below on the Twitch. Are you on Discord somewhere, Jim, where I can send the link? Nick Blackburn, Ridgerunners, yes. Magnetizing my Crisis and Commander made me wish their weapons pop in places and stay in place and pop off easier, so don't have to magnet. Yeah, because they can make the press fit now. Press fit. So you wonder if they could make it some way where it could be posable, or just like, so you don't have to glue or magnet or anything. That would be cool. Maybe that's the next phase of model development. Nick, there are 8 Ridgerunners. I'm just building 4 at a time, but there are in fact 8 Ridgerunners. Yeah. So that is a thing. That is a thing. All right, now we're gonna glue the legs of this squatter to the torso, just like this somehow. Maybe. Not sure how that goes together, to be honest. Goes right in the crotch. That's what I thought. Why isn't it fitting? That's disconcerting. Doesn't fit together. Unless I got these legs wrong. Yes, I did. I got all the legs wrong. Alright, so I had put the legs like this with the right knee up and the left knee down. But in fact, it's the left knee down and the right knee up. So they need all be twisted against each other 90 degrees. That is funny, because the upper bodies wouldn't fit on. So luckily they're not fully bonded yet, and I can just detach them and rejig them that way. Okay, well that was almost a mess up. Not paying attention. Alright, got new chaos list if you want to play. It's all painted. Yes, Dick, yes. Just look for your prepping for the new upcoming GSC book. No, I'm just trying to make use of the GSC that I have now. Isn't there the ball joint flight stands that press fit? Yeah, but they're not great, man. I tell you that. They are not great. So the Eldar bikes mostly have that, and They're not super good, but yes, they do have those. All right, so now the legs fit. Very nice. Oh, Nick, thank you for your video, by the way. I will have to edit that and upload that. Nick, of course, is doing his Road to LVO series for the channel, and it's been pretty good so far. And the next episode is ready in my inbox, and it is, I believe, the army is painted. So hopefully, get some nice footage of his beautifully painted army, and that is going to be ready to be wrecked by Iron Hands. Oh, sorry, did I say that out loud? Oh, I didn't mean to. Sorry, Nick. Nick is also a dedicated Thousand Suns player and was very excited about shooting twice with his Rubric Marines. Possibly the only person who owns Rubric Marines, except for Weber. And so, very excited that they can soon shoot twice. I'm excited to see what Ravenwing gets. I think they get a stratagem that lets them have Jink basically without advancing. I think there's some nifty things with Ravenwing. I'm super excited to see this stratagem where the Ravenwing homer in the Deathwing. Now, the homer is not quite as good as the Custodes homer, but is less CP. But I'm super excited about the fact that they made a stratagem that lets the two wings work together, which is so fluffy and awesome. Nick Blackburn, Imperial Fist. I hate Inceptor flight stands. Yeah, those curved flight stands, the ones that go like this, are like the worst. They're literally the worst. Mine are painted, ready to go. Capstock, are you on the Can Hammer one? Yeah, Gymnast, join the Can Hammer Discord. The link is in the Twitch panels down below. Please join. Please join. All right, almost done with this, dudes. Just got to stick on the two arms. Here's the handlebar grabbing arm and the whatever tricorder arm. There we go. All right, dudes, I'm just muting for a second on the phone. Yeah, sorry guys, that was just my wife calling me. So my wife, who went to Cleveland for the week, that's why I have all this playtime. For some reason, of course, Air Canada, the worst airline in the world. Everything's completely delayed, and she's not going to get home till like 2:30 in the morning. Which is ridiculous and stupid, and thank you, Air Canada, for sucking ass. Air Canada, the embarrassment of Canada. Let's just call it that. The shame of a nation. Like Jeffrey Butler on a long line of running butlers. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, but super funny. Okay, there we go. 2 Ridgerunners done. Little duder here to be painted separately. Nick Blackburn would be so proud of how far I've come. The one thing that annoys me about the whole Dark Angels thing is the loss of our interrogator chaplains on bikes. I mean, such awesome conversion that Nick and Andrew did for me, and they're useless because they've been legended now. I'm not sure why they legended all the bike characters that actually had datasheets in the previous edition. Yeah, anyway. Okay, cool. So here is the Ridgerunner. I believe it's done. Yes, other than putting it on the base, I'm not going to glue it to the base right now. And so here they are, pretty cool. You got that extra little handle on the side there, a little thunder hammer on the side there, and yeah, very cool little models, you know. It's not that big. Here's a 3-inch objective marker. There you go. So very cool. Of course, I left this dude out and the dude who kneels on the back out for painting separately, but otherwise I've got these guys. And the important thing is the wheels are kind of wobbly, so when you build them and you glue the wheels on, make sure you level it on something flat so that your model doesn't wobble. And then what we're gonna do is we'll do the basing scheme for this army is gonna be like jailbreak, so a bit of road and then a little bit of rubble or pieces of wall. And so these Ridgerunners are going to be like either driving down the road or like going over some wall rubble from the jailbreak. It's going to be kind of the basing scheme of these guys. So I'm going to do all the bases completely separate. And then these guys will either be glued onto the base or I'll just putty them or not even attach them to the base at all. So that'll be, because they're much easier to transport like this than with the bases. Okay, so that's 4 Ridgerunners done. And their respective duders. So let us put these extra sprues, there's not really sprues, just weapon options, off somewhere to the side for now. Over there. And lo and behold, four more Ridgerunners. Jester of Dark. If Games Workshop want to make money, they should sell conversion parts. Huh, that's interesting. Yeah, so you know what's interesting? In the latest, not White Dwarf, was it White Dwarf? One of the latest Sigmar battle tomes. They actually, you know, in the paint splatter section where they teach you how to paint the models. Where they teach you how to paint the models, they have a section on converting and kit bashing. So that's kind of interesting. So who knows? Maybe bits and like custom parts will become a thing. Like they already sell upgrade sprues, so it wouldn't be very difficult for them to do that. Sage. I'm imagining some model train style barbed wire in the rubble as well. Those are going to look awesome. Yeah, that's a great idea, actually. I didn't think about that. Where do you get model train, eh? So I could probably go to the hobby store on Maryvale and pick up, like, model train stuff. You know, so there might be some grass, but it's mostly going to be, like, asphalt, because you can paint the yellow stripe. And And asphalt is really easy to paint just by putting cork, spraying it, washing it, and then dry brushing it. Really easy to make good looking asphalt. And then maybe some bits of wall, which of course is just bits of cork, treated in the same way. And then I really like that barbed wire idea. That's kind of cool. I like that. I like that idea a lot. All right, here we go. 4 more Ridgerunners for your viewing pleasure. I don't know what color to make the Ridgerunners yet. I kind of like this neutral gray white kind of scheme, but I might make them more brightly colored to go with the other colors in my army. I don't know much about color theory, but maybe I should paint them gold so I can use them as Custodes tanks. World War II kits or Railroad Farm kits. Yeah, I'm gonna have to hit the model shop. Got enough of these cars, you can make a NASCAR. Yeah, put numbers on them, and the display board is like a circular track. You built 4 Ridgerunners before I figured out this one flight stand issue. Why do you have 18 flight stands? You're not building 18 Custodes bikes, are you? Because if you are, you should stop. Yeah, not recommended. Oh, destroyers. Okay. Yeah, I bet you destroyer. I don't know what the bottom of a destroyer looks like, but you could probably just drill a little bit with the hand drill, and then just sink the base tip in like an extra couple of millimeters, and it would be just fine. And then you could also take them off for transport. You really gotta think about transport, right? For those stupid things. It's not really cringy, man. Nobody notices. Doesn't really change anything, and it works just fine and saves you a lot of time and hassle. Try one and see what you think. Worst comes to worst, you just magnetize it. No big deal. But, you know, once you try lazy, don't go back. All right, boom. Here we go. Put these bases away. Okay, I thought somebody was building 18 Custodes bikes there for a minute, and you know, that meta has passed. So despite my best efforts, this Ridgerunner I just built is not level. That's annoying. That's very annoying. Oh well, I'll just put extra rubble under one of the wheels. Okay, I gotta go back to the beginning of the instructions here. Once you go lazy, don't go back. Exactly. Exactly. Words to live by, along with Bruno Mars' Lazy song. Alright, part number 6. Part number 6 is the top here, this bottom bit. Yeah, the top. Alright, I went to somebody's house the other day, can't remember who, and they use X-Acto knives to cut things off sprues. And I'm like, are you insane? First of all, you could chop a finger off very easily. And then second of all, you can just use this motherfucker. Now, I know this thing is like $30 or $40, which is stupid. But it is actually so good. And this lasted me like 3 years before I had to buy another one. And it just cuts sprues. You don't have to shave it anymore, hardly. You can actually use it to shave just like this. And it cuts forward resin. It's like so good. It cuts like thin brass rods. It's just really good. I highly recommend it. All right, now the 2 headlights. Uh-oh. Okay, and then those two little eye hooklet things, which are over here. And easily lost. Okay, that's one. For my elder tanks, I glue a nut to the bottom and then screw all thread into resin bases so I can thread them together. Mega overkill, but I'm glad I did it. That is pretty impressive. Kind of sold, time to buy it. Kind of sold, time to buy it. Sold on something good, I hope. Yeah, the sprue clipper is worth its weight in gold, I tell you. And it doesn't really get dull. And I used to cut freaking forge-rolled gates with this, like massive gates. I would just, and the spring eventually gave out, not the cutting. So it's amazing. A can hammer, shameless advertisement. Shameless advertisement. What am I advertising? What am I missing? I'm definitely not beyond shameless advertising, that's for sure. Advertising this sprue clipper. This sprue clipper is the bomb. I know people don't want to give GW more of their money, but they make good product here. This is good product. I'm not making any kickbacks off this, so it's good product. And way safer than using a freaking X-Acto knife. I mean, that is crazy. I don't know why anybody would do that. I don't want to be the one to sew your fingers back on. Literally just so easy, I would let my 5-year-old do it, but I would not let her handle an X-Acto knife. And then this is also a really good scraper without having to cut yourself with an X-Acto knife. It's really good at scraping. Forge roll is actually even better at scraping resin from forge roll. I get royalties on it. I wish, in your experience, what's been your favorite GW kit and forge roll kit to assemble? Favorite GW kit. These are pretty fun. Favorite. I can tell you what my least favorite is. What my favorite is? Oh, and Sigmar 2. Oh, I don't know. That's really hard. I don't think I have a favorite kit to assemble. It's nothing that I want to assemble like 400 times. And Forge World, same. I don't think it's actually super fun assembling any Forge World. I can tell you what my least favorite kits are, probably straight off the top of my head. Number one, Fire Raptor. Possibly the worst kit Forge World still has not been updated, and it is horrible, horrible, horrible. It almost never goes together, always comes warped. The pieces are flimsy and break. It was so bad that when I bought 3 of them, because I was stupid, I actually paid somebody to assemble the other 2 after I assembled 1, and was like, this is fucked up. So yeah, Fire Raptor, worst kit in existence. I actually hate Sister of Silence kits, but that's probably because I messed it up when I tried to assemble. So I won't count that against them. The next least favorite kit that GW made are Spirit Hosts, Age of Sigmar Spirit Hosts. They're just so difficult to put together. You don't know where every bit interconnects with every other bit. The pictures are so hard to interpret because it's just like wispy, like ghosts and smoke and whatever. It is literally a crazy kit to put together. To some extent, Nagash has a little bit of that, and any of those that have the spirits, but they don't have as many spirits as a spirit host. It's just, oh man, it's just horrible, horrible kit to put together. I hate putting spirit host together. Otherwise, nothing else really pissed me off too much. Those were the kits that really pissed me off. That I quite like assembling. That's kind of like a nice way of passing some time. It's not as anxiety inducing as painting, because it doesn't matter if you go inside the lines or whatever. So I like assembling models. And I go through phases where I just assemble a whole crap ton, like armies at a time, and then I go through a phase where I don't do any assembling and I actually hunker down and do a lot of painting when I'm in the zone. So right now I'm in an assembly mood, but I need to enter a painting mood soon. But I can definitely tell you the ones I don't like, not ones I do like. How about you guys in the chat? Tell me what you like and what you don't like assembling. Either game is fine. Have you ever heard the God Hand clippers from Japan? No. Don't tell me about them, because I'm going to want to buy them. All-time heavyweight champion of the world for worst model to assemble, metal penitent engines. Okay, listen, we can't count metal. That's not fair. Metal is just by definition harder to assemble because glue doesn't work well on them. And yes, magnets on flight stands. Yeah, that's your own pain of your own making, Jimenez. That doesn't count either. But yeah, let's just do plastic or resin only, because metal is just by definition horrible. So I don't think we can count metal. It's actually a great topic of conversation. Everybody's got their model horror stories. Drones, because it's like low-level mega blocks. Kloben said, I'm literally using JB Weld to keep the hips together. Yeah, like metal sucks. Real talk, Necron ghost arcs are pretty horrible. I've never assembled any Necron, so I don't know. But they seem like they would be pretty finicky, yes. Sisters of Silence are pretty bad because they're multi-part and they're so small. And every part looks like they would fit every other part, but in fact they don't. And so if you didn't like do it meticulously, you're actually pretty screwed. So like, well, there's only 10 people watching, not as much as a stream game. I don't know if people enjoy this kind of thing or not. I don't mind, because I'm just sitting here hobby talking to myself. I enjoy the interaction for sure. But, so, I don't know if people enjoy this kind of stream. Sometimes, actually, it's nice just to do some hobby alone in the silence. Uh-oh, I've lost a little hooklet. No! Oh, there it is. Favorite GW model to assemble? Lehman Russ. Cool. Vanilla Ice Cream to me. Favorite Forge World model? Leviathan Dread. Experience was miserable before I switched from a CA glue to specifically Gorilla Glue. So the same accelerant that I showed earlier works so good for doing Forge World. It makes assembling Forge World a breeze, because everything sticks together instantly. Is just really good. But if you're doing Dreadnoughts, because all the Forge World models tend to require or encourage a little bit of modeling, then you probably don't want to do that. But when you're happy with it and you want it to stick instantly, then do spray some accelerant on it. It's really good. Or you can use water, apparently. I have to agree with this Spirit host for Sigmar 40k. Yeah. Wolfen, I love the unit, but the feet to ankle to leg to ass and balance makes them stupid. Yeah. Oh, the other stupid model, of course, is Gene Stealers. Sticking those things to their bases is ridiculous. Some of these Night Haunt models, trying to get them on their bases is ridiculous. Witch Elves. Yeah, so all these models where there's very small connections to their base can be a problem too. Okay, now I need big part number 1. That's the other big part here. I don't think I've ever met anyone who likes assembling Spirit hosts. It's just mind destroying. And like, because it's just ghosts swirling around each other and every swirl looks like every other swirl, you can't tell what's what on the instructions. It's like impossible. They should have like color coded it or something. Death Guard hurt got your fingers, yeah. It's like putting the purple sun together in Sigmar. It's like basically assembling a porcupine. Okay, 55, 56. 50 shy. Shock absorbers. Where's 55, 56? Here we go. Yeah, these clippers are so good. Darren, have you built the Incarn? No, although I suspect that the Incarn is much like building a Spirit host, just with an Eldar chick in the top. No, I've not built the Incarn. I've built 15 so far, telling me I ended up gluing some backwards and I didn't know. You mean Spirit hosts? Sucker is a trip, the Incarn. Yeah, I would have thought that it's a fairly recent model, so it would be well designed. I gotta say, even in the last year, their models have become so well designed, and like the push fit thing. If you like how they push together and like multi-layers, so sandwiches and things poking out through the previous layer. Yeah, it's like pretty impressive, like very impressive. One thing about GW, they got the best models on the market. So if you're in it for the hobby, yeah, you can't go wrong there. Spirit host, I built her. She's a bitch. Yeah. She's such clean cuts with that clipper, you hardly have to do any scraping at all. It's really good. You just have to do mold lines and stuff. And I tell you, these modern models, you can get away without removing most mold lines because they put them in such a place that it doesn't matter. Which I love. The old days when the mold line would go right across your Space Marine shoulder pad. The Incarn is well designed, but it's easy to miss one or two of the connection points. 40 parts. Oh, that's pretty crazy. Yeah, that's pretty crazy indeed. Yeah, it's definitely a cool model though. I like it. I like it a lot. So I'm just doing these shock absorbers, which is pretty cool. Shock absorbers here. They're slightly angled. It's very cool. As far as I can tell, and the first 4 kind of proved this to me, they're actually interchangeable. So it doesn't matter which one you put on which side, which is cool because I like it when it's interchangeable. Sometimes things seem like they're interchangeable and they're not. So you just have to be careful about that. But these things seem like they are interchangeable. Incarn. Well, maybe I will be expanding my Eldar. So what's funny is that I hate Eldar, right? Like I've always lost to Eldar. All the players, Eldar has been very good all the time for as long as I've been playing Warhammer recently, and I always lose to them, and I hate Eldar. But something just hit me watching Chris Blackham play that Seer Council, and just really liked it. And yeah, I even liked it last night, even though I lost. I liked it. And you can't complain that it's overpowered, man. Like, this unit of 10 dudes, first of all, is a whole crap ton of points. And they literally die like T3 bitches unless you get off at least 5 or 6. And they do nothing in shooting or combat unless you get at least 5-6 buffs on them. So it's more than reasonable. And if you're unlucky and you have a knight explode in the middle of all your buff characters, then you're kind of screwed. Okay, now I gotta make piece 13, which I think is this complex suspension rig right here, which is very cool. Yeah, it was an interesting game. Interesting game for sure. And the other problem is Francois and his 3 knights, so much shooting. He literally almost killed 14 grotesque in one shooting phase, which is really hard to do. And so that also left the rest of my army with 0 power left to do anything to knights. So it was really an uphill battle. New ETC missions are fairly balanced. There's going to be a lot less 20-0s, I think. It's actually quite low scoring. Initially, anyway, whereas it doesn't ramp up as fast as old missions. If they have the same number in the instructions, they'll be interchangeable. They don't have the same numbers, but they seem like they're interchangeable. But they don't have the same number. But these are 5, 6, 7, 8 now, and they seem like they're completely interchangeable. Actually, I kind of like assembling Forge World because I think the newer kits are actually really good, super detailed. They go together just as well as the plastic kits. You hardly ever have to bend anything unless they got just bent in transport. The new kits are really good. New kits are really good. All right, now we're gluing that suspension rig to these springs, and now we see that it is interchangeable. There we go. Okay, maybe they're not completely interchangeable. All that means you just had to bend it a little bit. No biggie. Yeah. So definitely not completely interchangeable, but it doesn't matter because you just kind of squeeze them in there. It doesn't matter. Let's see. That might be why your wheels are wobbly. Well, no, the wheels are wobbly because the wheels don't fit in here super snug. They just wobble around, and so yeah, that's why they're wobbly. To your Forge World comment, I really enjoyed assembling the Moirax kits. Are those are like the war dogs basically, or like what are those? Yeah, because there are some kits that are like half plastic and half resin. I'm really wary of those because the chances that they just don't go together well, it's like high chance. Okay, yeah, they're totally not interchangeable, but it's okay. Doesn't affect you in the end. Forge World Armiger War Dog. Okay, yeah. It's not gonna affect the model in the end that you messed this step up. But they're not interchangeable. There you go. Lesson learned. All that means is it's bent a little bit at the top of the spring there. It's just bent a little bit. That's no big deal. Okay, who else uses this GW plastic glue and finds that for the first few sessions, that little metal stick that you get, that the glue comes out of, is awesome. Okay, so on this side, I actually got it right by accident, and so it fits perfectly. And then it just gets plugged and it becomes useless, and then you end up using the giant nozzle at the end. I love this little metal stick. It guides the glue exactly where it needs to go, but it just plugs up way too easily. And survey says this one was also by accident done correctly. So I got 2 of them right by accident. You switch to Tamiya Extra Thin Cement. It has a brush. A brush? Like built into the tip of the glue, or like you pour it somewhere and you use a brush? Tamiya makes good stuff, man. Their tape is the best masking tape. A brush. It's interesting. Okay, now we got 14, 15, 16, and 20 going together. Okay, these are the exhaust pipes. I think that these are completely interchangeable. Pretty much. Famous last words. You can clear the metal stick on the GW by heating it with fire on the inside of the cap. Oh, inside of the cap. Take it out of the glue bottle, hold a match under it. Got cheaper off-brand stuff with a brush. The brush is so good. Oh, you can heat the stick. Okay, I might try that. Take it out of the glue bottle and hold a match under it. The bit you unscrew has a brush. Okay, but you still have to brush the glue on as opposed to dropping it on? Is that what you mean? It's a pretty interesting concept. Supermarket super glue, the same kind of thing. Interesting. I'll have to look it up. Tamiya super glue. mean, this little metal rod is perfect, but it just gets blocked. I think the best part about hobby streams is learning from other people. Secret hobby hacks. Okay. It's very thin. It runs into the gap. Yeah. Brush the glue on with the brush inside the lid. Okay. I'm going to try it, guys. I wonder if I can get it off Amazon. Our place here that stocks Tamiya stuff is like far. And I'm lazy. Oh, plastic glue. Yeah. I mean, I like to use plastic glue for plastic. And super glue for everything else. Okay. Now I gotta stick these exhaust pipes in. Here we go. Pretty straightforward. I think there's some slight angulation which makes them not completely interchangeable, but for all intents and purposes, they're interchangeable. So for the lazy hobbyist, they're perfect. Actually, I like this objective here because it reminds me where the screen is. Because when you're in your hobby zone, sometimes you forget that people can't see what you're doing. Not that it's particularly interesting, but you know, I think maybe painting is more interesting than building. All right, there we go. Random Scrub 2, welcome. Random Scrub. All right, 21, 24. 21, 24. So how do you think your DA list is going to look like? No idea, man. I haven't read the book. No idea. But if I can, I'm going to run pure Ravenwing. Because A, that's who I got the most models on. I think I have like almost 10 to 12k of Ravenwing. And that's what I like the fluff the most of. And I have a sickly, really nicely painted Ravenwing army that took me a long time to paint, so I'd love to play it. And yeah. But if I have to play some Deathwing, like I'm thinking if Deathwing are going to be good enough to run like a unit of like 8 or 9 Terminators just to come down and double shoot and wrap stuff and eat and kill stuff in combat with flails and fists, then that might be a nice interface there too. And I'm willing to buy some of those Forge World Dark Angels Terminators to be my Deathwing, because the normal GW ones are shit. So that's the thing. I'm going to try and play as little Green Wing as possible because, quite frankly, we don't need more Marines. We need some other stuff other than freaking Intercessors and shit like that right now for some variety. So I'm hoping that they're going to make the wings good. We really need the wings to be good. If it's just another freaking foot Green Wing army, then that's going to be super boring. I'm not interested in that. Heretical. With the tactical doctrine, I was made be a mobile gun list. Extra 3-6 inches, pretty big. DA successor trait. Pretty sick kit bash. Yeah, so maybe get some of those speeders out again. If they can move and fire without heavy penalty, that would be pretty cool. You know, Typhoon speeders, especially to keep getting cheaper and cheaper. And if it's going to be like Marines, where things keep getting cheaper and cheaper and it's never rationalized, then they might end up being pretty good. So this is making the rear axle here. But yeah, I'm not interested in playing another Green Wing army unless they make like a Lion's Blade Strike Force. That would be cool. So if they have ass backs that can move without penalty and shoot, then I would love to bring back a whole Assault Razorback spam list. That would be so fun, and I got like 8 of those guys. That would be cool. I saw a pretty sick kit bash. Granted Discord app. These use Stormcast Eternal Bodies with Marine parts, robes, and stuff. Oh yeah, as Deathwing, yeah, that would be pretty cool. But those Forge World dudes are like so awesome, and they already got all the Dark Angels iconography on them, so I would have to use those guys. Plus Forge World, whatever they're called, the Praetors, or they're coming up in the Thramis in the next book, the Thramis Heresy book. So the models will be coming out soon, I think. But yeah, pretty excited about Dark Angels. See if we can get some action going on the old Dark Angels. Okay, just need to go this way. Alright, so just assembling this, I think it's the front axle actually, onto there. There we go. Fits nicely. Beautiful. Thramis. I think Thramis was what? Dark Angels and Night Lords? Can't remember now. Anyone else here read the Siege of Terra? I've read both books, waiting for the third one. So good. Eagerly waiting for the Valdor book. I wonder when that's going to come out. I mean, the whole reason I even play Custodes is because I love the fluff. And so when they brought rules out for it, I was instantly sold. Okay, now we need part number 25. And maybe we stick these together first. Yeah, let's do that first. Okay, now we're sticking the two chassis halves together. Now the trick here, if you want the side panels to fit, is there's this little square there. See that little half rectangle? That has to fit snug against the back of this gap. It slides. So if you don't fit it snug, the side panels will not fit. So you have to kind of make an effort to slide it so that it fits snug. And then keep it like that while it gets stuck together. And so what you end up with is a little bit of overlap in the back. And if you're not sure, just cut the next step, one panel, 27. This is what I did just to make sure. Cut panel 27 out. And just make sure it fits in. Yeah, and it's a very specific fit, so that's correct. So you should have a little overlap there on this back edge. The top should overlap the bottom by like 0.5 millimeter if you got it sitting right. And the other guide is that this front axle should fit right against these front struts here. So that's your other guide. All right. Yeah, I don't think they're bringing out any more models. It's just Lazarus, but those Deathwing models are pretty dire, so I don't like those at all. How do you not break that metal thing on the plastic glue? I swear it breaks within the first 5 minutes. We're just talking about it. I've never had it break, but it gets plugged very easily. So apparently you can just light a match or something under and it'll unplug, which is cool. Yeah, the nozzle. I've never had it break, but I've had it plugged. It always gets plugged and then you end up throwing it out. And then you just have this giant nozzle then after that. Maybe you're just not gentle enough with your glue, Random Scrub. You have to be gentle. Gentle, gentle, man. Fair enough. How come Citadel paint sets can only be found on eBay and Amazon, but they don't sell them on their own store? I didn't know they had sets, really. I thought you just buy them individually. If GW did sell sets, you would bet your bottom dollar that they would be the same price as buying them separately. So, funny story, yesterday was a school strike. So, and since my wife is away, I had to take yesterday off to look after my daughter. There's no care anywhere. And so I went to the GW store with Phil, and there was a whole bunch of dads in there with their daughters. With their kids, not daughters, but a whole bunch of dads in the GW store. So that was pretty funny. And so Charlotte, who started painting and playing Sigmar, actually, Not real Sigmar, like I made up rules, but she likes to play with dice and roll dice, and it helps her with her math, her addition, and her multiplication. Anyway, that's justification, So she's been painting, and she wanted to paint pink. So she asked me if she can buy pink. It's Fulgrim pink. And that's not a color that I have, so I'm like, okay, we can buy it for her. So we bought her first bottle of paint, and it's Fulgrim pink, which is a bright pink color. So she's like, and then we got home, and I gave her the bottle of paint. She immediately wanted to go paint, and she's been painting this wall from the Garden of Moor in Sigmar, and so she painted a few bricks, pink bricks. And so her wall is still in progress. All the bricks are all different colors, like a rainbow wall. And she's been painting a Sigmarine and a Primaris Marine, an Intercessor, and a whatever that wagon is with the pool of blood on it that the daughters ride on in Sigmar. She's been painting that. So I've just taught her how to wash, and she likes just slathering it on because she's been pretty good. She's only 5. She's pretty good, takes her time and tries to paint in the lines with just a little bit of paint. And she even tried edge highlighting yesterday. That's pretty fun. So, and she really likes throwing dice, and then I ask her math questions. You have 3 guys, they have 2 attacks each, so how many attacks do you have? And she gets it right, so that's pretty cool. She can't argue with that. Educational benefit of Warhammer. Math. Definitely can't argue with that. Better than Kumon. Yeah, so who knows how long her phase will last, but she's into it right now, so I'll just ride it. I'll go with it. A couple weeks from now, so I know this 9-inch charge is about 20%, but what about the reroll? Well, she's soon going to be way better than me at math, and will probably be able to tell me what that reroll is. So yeah, but that's pretty funny. She's going to be like, Dad, that's not a good move. Chances of that happening are pretty small. Well, she already understands that she needs 5 to cast a spell, and then if to roll over it, it's harder to roll over an 8 than it is to roll over a 5. So she already understands this kind of principle of like greater than, less than. And of course she picked up the thing pretty fast about 3 up means 3 or more on the dice, and now she just says 3s, 4s like we do. It's pretty funny, and she can spot like this is greater than that, or that's not greater than that, and so it's pretty good. She's sort of learning how to read a tape measure and like to count things out and to measure things. So there's definitely a lot of things. So yeah, she doesn't know probability, but she gets the concept that the chances of something happening in one situation may be better or worse than in another situation. Which is which I think is pretty cool. Yeah, my kid's pretty smart. And the other day we had like a vampire lord who has 6 health, and then I asked her, she has 6 health, and you just did 3 damage to it, so how much health does it have left? And she's like, 3. I'm like, good. And then she said, so it's half dead. So I was like, yes, it is half dead. Well done, my child. Well done. You know half. Well done. Okay, next will be the side panel 27. Well done, my child. You get a cookie. $39. I'll do 39 too while I'm at it. 39 is like the front grill. Kids are funny. I think she really just wanted to start painting because I was doing it, and she likes to hang out with me, and she kind of likes nerdy things like I do, and then she likes art. She really likes drawing and painting, like crafts and stuff. So it just seems like a natural extension for her, and she's really interested in these models, not only painting them but also like rolling the dice, and so. Sounds like she just mugged someone and their twitch on the ground looks dead. He's half dead. Possible. How long till she learns the expected value of D3 is 1.207? Oh, I told her that when she was a baby. D3 suck. D3 suck! Okay, which side is this? Okay. D3's. D3s do suck though, don't they? All right. Oh, next cast, by the way, I have 3 books to give away that have been sitting in my basement for a while. I have Chapter Approved, which I don't know if anybody wants, but I also have Salamanders and Imperial Fists supplements, which may be of interest to some people. Must be the only person in the world who actually likes D3 against 3 wound models. No, you would be the only person, and probably because you can't do math. Literally is like the worst. Like, it feels good when you roll a 5 or 6, but man, it's so bad when you have to take 3 wounds just to kill one guy. It's definitely not good. It must be chapter approved. Paperweight, yes. I still think our stuff should be flat 3. Trajan Aquilon should be flat 4. Dreadnought should be 3 plus D3. Well, one of our Dreadnoughts is 3 plus D3. Well, if you look at it this way, we lag behind the other armies in 2 key aspects, and one of which is very important. We are not as tough as we used to be because the lethality of the game has markedly increased. Everything is so much more powerful now, and we did not get any tougher. So we definitely need to get tougher. Otherwise, it doesn't matter how hard we hit, we will not survive long enough to do the hitting. So that's the first priority. Then the second priority is actually we need to also gain some lethality, because there's no point surviving if you can't kill anything. Everything can kill you eventually. So, yeah. At least flat 2 would go a long way. Flat 3 would be nice, but I doubt it. Maybe our Aquilon will get flat 3 and everything else would be flat 2, which is a huge improvement already. Okay, 23 and 18. These are the outward front shocks. %80 of the time, it works 100% of the time. It's not the fact that it sometimes can be better. It's the fact that it sometimes can be worse. The variance is what sucks about it. It's not the fact that it's better or worse. It's the variance. And that's what gets you. It's the variance. Leaving things alive with 1 or 2 wounds when they should have been dead. It's the variance. Alright, if you talk to good Warhammer players, everything they do, the models that they take, how they play, what they leave to chance or not, is all about reducing variance, and D3s just have too much variance. That's all there is to it, really. So this front shock is pretty cool, but it's kind of tricky to get on. But you just gotta stick it in there like this, and then you gotta attach it to this little nubbin on the suspension, and it can be pretty tricky to do with fat fingers like mine. Yes, I am a surgeon, don't worry. There we go. See, we get it done in the end. 1/9 of any individual model needing 3 attacks to kill, but 1/3 of them dying outright. Yeah, sure. But I mean, specific application, they're a lot better. Bayonet worker. So is this like a good new build or something? What is a good new build? Ridgerunners? Yeah, I think it's a good new way of running Hive Mind right now. Along with maybe using exocrines and Hive Guard. Because exocrines just got really good and they got cheaper. And Hive Guard were already one of the best things in the book, and they got better. And Ridgerunners got cheaper and their weapons got cheaper, therefore they're just better. And they're actually fairly tough to kill for GSC stuff. And very fast. They have scout move, and they have 36-inch range D3 las cannon shots, which basically hit on 3s. So pretty good. And this stupid gear is driving me nuts. I cannot get it on. Here we go. Definitely a brainchild of Alex McDougall, fellow Canadian, top hive mind player. And he actually surprised everybody at Charity Hammer with it, which is amazing. All right, there we go. That was tricky, but done. Okay, next we got to make the little lid 36 and 57. All right, maybe we'll go for another half hour and call it a night. It would be nice to get these done, but I think it's going to take maybe another hour, and I need to work tomorrow. And the whole point of tonight was to go to bed early, but that's probably not going to happen. I blame you guys. Blame the audience. If I keep saying what? That it was Alex McDougall's list? It was Alex McDougall's list. Stake or claim, Canadian property. Besides, you got to give the guy something, man. Shaved all his hair off. He actually categorically does look better, though. One guy came on the chat after we shaved his head off and was like, don't know what it looked like before, but pretty hot now. Which was funny. Yeah, his hair was not... despite having so much hair, it looked like it was thinning, really. So that was pretty fun, though. Pretty fun. All right, this is like the underside of the tank, so I don't really have to do much to it. Was it Colin's list? No, whoever's list, doesn't really matter. I'm not a big subscriber to whose list is whose list, and you're stealing this person's list. Well, first of all, nobody copyright nothing. Second of all, some of us are just not good at writing lists, so we have to take other people's lists. And the only reason people put their list out there is so that you can take it. So, you know, this whole net listing thing is really kind of stupid. It's really kind of stupid. I think net listing is actually the best way to start. Pick up someone's list, play it a ton, figure out how it works, talk to the person, and then make improvements or changes to suit your play style. I think that is a beautiful way of starting an army or learning how to play your army differently. You know, everybody has the ability or skill or insight to make things from scratch. after you put that bottom plate on, that's where you get that little mean bug eye look to the front of the buggy, which is pretty cool. Just like that. It's pretty cool. I will make that area slightly a pain in the butt to paint, but you know, I think just leaving this little panel off and painting it separately is just make work project. So just do that. Boom. And then you can probably OSL some light effects on the front of that, and that will look pretty cool. Very cool indeed. Okay. I think we're almost done for the night. Let's just put on the other side panel, and we will call it a day. So next week on Tuesday night, we got joined by Nick, who's been doing the Road to LVO series, and we will be talking about LVO on the podcast with me and Chris. We'll be talking about some of the lists. We'll be talking about these new thoughts on the terrain stuff, preparations, what we think is going to happen, and all that sort of goodness. So do join us. That's on Tuesday night at the usual time. And then Thursday night, we've got Owen from 613 Chaos locally, one of our Chaos players locally, and he is coming to play a game on Thursday night. And of course, that will be practice for a team tournament. So we'll be playing some ETC, and so that should be cool. Are Ridgerunners the new secret heat? Well, I don't think it's that secret anymore. But I think it's a fun way of playing NIDS. And I think it's a way of playing GSE, and ways of playing GSE has drastically diminished recently, so these hive mind players. I wasn't actually going to do it until I saw it in action and I saw how fun it looked. And that could be a little bit competitive, so I'm like, I'm sold. I need to do something with my GC army. And so I was definitely sold on that. So that is not fitting together very well for some reason. It's like it's bent. What's going on here? That's weird. That one didn't fit very well together. Really having to press it together. Very weird. My GC army is dusty AF. Yeah, that's what I mean, right? That's what I mean. So if it means, and this army, I literally just bought it and it's sitting there unpainted, and I'm not motivated to paint it because I can't play it. And so this was definitely the thing I was looking for, to get this army at least painted and played. And I really had no motivation to start on the Sylvaness, so this was it. Oh, Jeff P. Look at this, bitch. Jeff Penderetta, tell me you were playing Ridgerunners at Canhammer Team. Come on. Come on. Do people play GSC with how good Marines are? Yeah. Did you see Ridgerunners against Imperial Fists? One would expect Imperial Fists to kill 9 Ridgerunners in the first turn, but Ridgerunners won that game. So, you know, it's a thing, man. It's a thing. Oh, that just came off, which is unfortunate. Yes, Jeff. Oh, you are playing Ridgerunners at Canhammer Team. That's awesome. First game last night, murdered 9 Talos. Yeah, well, you know, 993 las cannons can well do that. One turn, 3 ridges went off, 9 las cannons, erased a unit of 3. Yep, inspired by Alex McDougall, indeed. And seeing it in action is one thing, but like talking to Alex and how he talks about it, is very passionate about it, is really cool. Really cool indeed. These models are really cool. They don't really need to put so much detail into all the suspension and stuff, but they do, even though it's mostly covered by the wheels. It's just really cool. Respect for the detail. Okay, that is both side panels on. Main chassis is finished. Well, let's do a little bit more. Let's just do the hatch and the grill. I'll have to find the VOD somewhere. Yeah, so I think they were playing on stream. They were playing on the Canhammer stream. And the game that Alex played against Nick and lost, he only lost because he forgot about drop pods and coming in turn 1, and he just ganked Swarmlord. Otherwise, that would have been a pretty good game. So you can check that one out. That's on the Canhammer stream. All our Stream 2 videos are up on YouTube now. So you can watch all the full games on YouTube without trawling through Twitch, because they start disappearing from our Twitch pretty soon. But they're all on forever on our YouTube on a playlist called Charity Hammer 2. And I've labeled them all with who's playing. So it's an easy way of finding it. And then he has lots of other games on the stream versus lots of other players, including that first game against Richard Siegler and Imperial Fist. So do check that out if you want to see how that list plays. And this is his version with the Gene Stealers, not what some people think is the better version, which is the Exocrines. I like the Gene Stealers because I have 120 of them and I want to use them. But yeah. Finally busted, felt like building a toy car kit. It is kind of like building a toy car kit. That's exactly what it's like. All right, Jeff. So when I see your ETC list for Can Hammer Team, I want to see Ridgerunners on it. So actually, I only have 8, not 9, because I'm running the Locus or Sanctus or whatever that character is, so we can have a Vect, because I think that's so nice to have one Vect. Yeah, see you later, Jeff. It's like actually really easy to build. It's just kind of like a beginner's model car set. Everything fits together perfectly, and it's a joy to put together. Boom. All right, next is wheels. $11:30. Yeah, better stop. Okay, guys. Well, that's the stream for tonight. I think you already know my list. McDougal's a boss. Yeah, so thanks for watching, guys, and thanks for joining and chatting, and we'll see you guys next week. So have a good weekend.